Hello, dear friend. This video is not scripted. This is just a real and raw testimonial to the power of cyclical living, the power of our wombs. And so I feel like a lot of women have kind of a very sometimes detached and sometimes like a very relationship with their womb, and it's not really our faults. We've kind of been taught to hide your period. Don't talk about it. Don't let anyone know that you're bleeding. Keep going as if you're not having your monthly death. And for a while, I went on like this. I was like very much trying to go forward in my life, but I wasn't getting anywhere because there was a part of me that was like, this is not the way. This doesn't feel like truth to me. I had all kinds of hormonal issues. I was like now I'm a very strong believer of feeling your emotions deeply, but I was having these breakdowns where I felt like every time that would happen, I would like feel my soul so far away. And it was really hard, and it was almost like very destructive in my life. I would really lash out to others instead of really processing what I had going on within me. And so, I don't know, it's just like a while ago I discovered like cyclical living, but it's like I had to experiment. I had to experiment with it and realize the ways that I wasn't living that way and exactly how damaging it was for me. Now, everyone is their own person and everyone is unique and everyone has a unique truth. And so if this doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. You can find your own truth. But to me, cyclical living has been like what has really set me free. And being a person on a shamanic path and really having this intimate and deep relationship with the earth. And really it just takes observing the world around you, observing the trees, observing the seasons, observing the animals, the insects, the birds, and seeing that they're not always on it, you know? Sometimes they're slower, sometimes they come out less. The grass isn't always green. And I feel like a lot of humanity we've really kind of separated ourselves from that. We aren't separate, but we've created the illusion that there's nature and there's us. But we are part of this larger living organism. And so I was just so sick, and I was so tired of being sick. And so it was especially the luteal phase. And a fun fact, when you are in your luteal phase, your brain is more like what's that word? Neuroplasticity. There's like more neuroplasticity, and it is the perfect time to rewire old beliefs and to let things go, because that's what menstruation is. It is letting things go. And back in the old days, way before religion, way before Christianity and all of these big like ascension heaven based religions. There were religions of the earth-based living, and there were womb religions, and not even specifically about like your uterus, but when we think about the moon and the cycles of the moon, there are 13 moons in a year. And well, in a year, Gregorian year, and in a cycle, everything is in a cycle. And tribes and people from all across the world lived from this cycle for a long time. We were very much in our bodies, in the wisdom of our bodies, connecting with God through our bodies. And entire villages would menstruate together on a full moon. And the full moon is a time of release, because it's like the apex. And even the women were revered as almost like the keepers, and they would like menstruate, and the men would menstruate energetically too, in time of letting go of all the things we don't want to carry with us into the next moon cycle. And you know, in these times, whether it be like a bad harvest or like bad luck or whatever it be, and they would menstruate together, and then after the menstruation would come the time of sowing seeds and of really blossoming, because we've let go of what's really weighing us. But the power of the menstruation is that it takes you deep, deep, deep into yourself. Like, I feel like when we kind of redirect our attention into our hips, and I feel like right now it's like humanity's center of gravity is very mind-based, very let's go do this, let's go do that, let's fix this, fix that, how can we be more efficient? But when we really allow ourselves to get down and deep into our hips, we find like nourishment, because we aren't meant to like go to heaven while we're alive. You know, we're meant to incarnate. Incarnate means like in the body, in the flesh, and we are here for a reason. And so back to the plan. So living cyclically has changed my life, because I feel like I can surrender to the seasons, and it's almost like I become more efficient in each season, which the word efficient isn't really the best word, and maybe it's because I have weird associations with the word efficient in terms of like capitalism, but I feel I can create more authentically when I respect the times, when I'm not in my creator mode, when I'm in my like little like crone cave woman phase, and I'm just bleeding, and I'm in those waters where nothing makes sense because it's not supposed to make sense, and I'm surrendering to the release, and I'm realizing that there's an energetic, really almost ecstatic process happening within my body, within my energetic system, that is beyond words. You can't put words to it. And when we surrender to that, when we really try to align our lives with that, for me, I feel more at home in my body. I feel like I'm nurturing my inner space. I'm nurturing the landscape, my inner landscape of my not only my consciousness, but just my entire being. And what I would notice when I was exhausted, I was like in my late luteal phase, and I wouldn't rest because I felt like I hadn't done enough. I was holding so much shame around like my productivity and my worth at that time. And it's like I wouldn't let myself rest. And especially when I'm menstruating, whenever I feel like late luteal menstruation is when I personally, like, I'm just saying no. I'm just saying no to things because I am getting into my cocoon. I am getting in my nest, and I'm really allowing myself to be present with the waves, with the primordial energy of menstruation, of the cycles. And oh my gosh, I would just keep going. And it's almost like I created a debt that was, it's like you can't repay it. Kind of like when you don't sleep, or when you get like 2 hours of sleep, and it's like you can't really repay that sleep. Even if you sleep a lot the next day, it's like our circadian rhythms don't really work that way. And it's kind of like the same way our own rhythms, like and it took a lot of trial and error, and it still does, because I'm still learning. I'm still really stepping into this, especially, I don't live in like Costa Rica and in like a cool hut in the middle of the jungle. And props to people that do and are more immersed in the natural world. But I live in a house in a town, and so like a lot of people around me are kind of doing other things and aren't really on this path. And I feel like it's easy for us to feel like we have to measure our worth and our quote unquote success by what they're doing. And it takes so much courage to do this when you're living in an environment like that. And so yeah, my luteal phase is like that late fall when the air is crisp and you're really kind of bundling up. And in my menstrual cycle, that's my winter, that's our winter, when we're really kind of in this mindless space. And especially late luteal, that's when everything, like the cauldron, really starts to get stirring and stirring, and you're like purging all these things, and you're really getting into that fiery stage. And in menstruation, like the magic of our blood just lets it go. We just let it go naturally. And I always like to imagine my blood going into the earth, because she just takes anything. She loves all the yucky stuff. She composted. That is her medicine. She's like the master recycler. And it's why I love to honor the earth too, as a part of, the cyclical living. And there can be so many videos about this. And this is really just me kind of coming back on here more fully in myself to kind of give this page a direction in a more authentic and passionate way, I guess. But yeah, it's been my experience, and I feel like when I really nurture those icky spaces and really surrender to them and say no to everything that I want to say no to, whenever my spring and my summer comes around, it's like juicier. There's like more flowers. I feel like I'm more free to bloom because I allowed the other processes to work themselves through me. And it's easy to say now because I'm like ovulating right now. Or I think I'm like post-ovulation, very early luteal. So this is before I go down into the depths, into the underworld. But I do really it's so powerful. And this is mostly kind of catered to women. Women have wombs. Well, most women have wombs if you're biologically a woman, and it's not only just for that, but for men and for trans people to really, really pay attention to your body and listen to what it needs. And I feel that our society has kind of this overarching masculine feel of, and not masculine in a gender way, but masculine in a everything has to make sense way, masculine in a 24-hour day kind of way, instead of really honoring the cycles that we go throughout time. And so I encourage you, whoever you are, to honor your cycles, to journal throughout the month how you feel if you struggle with PMDD or PMMD, something like that. One of those things where you have like very severe like premenstrual syndrome or whatever they call it. I really recommend like really journaling throughout your cycle, throughout the whole month, and kind of noticing the patterns, noticing what you need, and giving yourself permission, and setting boundaries with people, communicating, especially with my partner, communicating where you are and how important this is for you in your journey. And so yeah, that's what I have for today. I don't know how long this was, but I'm very excited and honored to be remembering this wisdom, to be walking this path. And I highly recommend to stay tuned, because I'm creating right now. I'm in my creator mode, and I cannot wait to hold space for beautiful women, for beautiful people, and really facilitate a deepening within all of us, a coming home. And it's just so good, it's so juicy, and it's so innocent and pure. And I just and I do offer somatic healing sessions right now, and shamanic healing sessions. I do somatic journeys, which is just traveling into your body, and that can show up in so many ways, but there should be a link to that and contact information in the bio, so you can, I don't know, check it out if you feel called. And I know my offerings will evolve over time as I really kind of step into myself and step into how I want to make art with my life. But